Hello everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Zakaria the Ghost. Guys, when I see this mountain, I feel like I can share a story, because storytellers will tell stories regardless. Many years ago, like maybe 8 years ago, 9 years ago, I found myself homeless, and I found myself, staying under the bridge at the place called Val River, Vrenaging, and those who knows the place, they call it Frega. I found myself there, homeless, staying with people that I don't even know, from different places in South Africa. They were just coming there to pray because, when you love praying a lot into the mountains and rivers, you will find yourself in different places. When you hear people saying, there is a river there, it's very powerful. There is a mountain there, it's very powerful. You can go and pray there and connect with your God. I like to connect with my God, especially when I go to places like rivers and mountain. Nature is very important. And this is not new, guys. This is not new. When you see people taking time and having their families going with them to mountains, and they tell you about the mountain hiking, they know the secrets of the mountain. It's been there even in the Bible. You have seen, the prophet Elijah, he was, I call him Elia. He was going there all the time to mountain caves and talk to his God. And he was also going to the river, and there were so many miracles which happened in the river. Because we have seen, even if at the end when he was going back to heaven, he didn't die. He is the person who just hit the water with what he was wearing, the cloth, and the animal skin thing. And we have seen the horse with, the donkey cart, and it just, they call them the chariots or something, just took him to heaven, And yeah, if we believe in the Bible, why should we sideline some of the things that we see on our day-to-day basis? We're like, oh, you go into the mountain, it's bad. Okay, if it's bad, forget about the Bible, because it's been there for many years, And now, when I look at that, and I found myself staying in Val, but I'm going to tell you the story of how I got to Val. It's an interesting story, how I found myself homeless to that place. But when I was there, I met people, and they were telling me about this other mountain in Pretoria. Oh man, there is a great mountain, man, in Pretoria, in the place called Garankuwa. If you know Medunza, if you know TUT, you just get there, man, you will see the place. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come one day, because we're talking about that. We're talking about Mahalis, we're talking about Vetpoort. I'm still going to share the story about Vetpoort, by the way. So you can subscribe to the channel, guys. I got plenty of stories that I just want to share. I just want to share stories while I'm still waiting for the verdict of, the bank giving me the loan so that I can buy the proper camera and start shooting short films. So I feel like I can just share this short, stories, because I'm still going to turn them to become short films later. So now, they told me about this place in Pretoria. I was like, okay, I'm going to go there. I'm going to pay a visit to the mountain, because you need to know, guys, white people goes to the mountains all the time. But when they go to the mountains, they are going to mountains where they know that they will pay. But they always go to places where they know that, safety is guaranteed. There is people who are always looking after those caves, and the only difference is that it's not even only white people, even black people do these days. They go there and they pay to go and see or to discover those caves. The same thing when it comes to the river. I remember back in the days when I was still in Val, there was this company which was renting boats. People were coming to rent the boats and going to discover, Val River in a different angle, because Val River, guys, is big. I used to be there, and I remember they used to charge something like 340 for a 1-hour cruise. Sometimes you find 20 to 100 people in the same boat. They were just in there and drinking their wines and beers and playing some music, and enjoying their cruise. So it happens all the time. There is not much difference between black and white these days. The power is money. If you have money, you can go and book to those kind of places and go and experience the beauty of nature. So back to the story. When you see this mountain, you will think it's just how far it goes, or that's the only mountain that you will discover. But once you go to the other side of the mountain, you will find out that the mountain, it is big. You know, you can walk for hours and days. So now I took a train from Ogmo to Pretoria. When I arrived to Bosman station, then I switched the train to the other one that goes to Garankuwa. So I saw Medunza. I'm like, okay, I'm at the right place. And I saw TUT, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. After that, then I started walking, you know, towards the direction of the mountain. So now I saw a lot of caves, and I realized that it seems like people around there, they know that this cave is for this certain group of people and the other cave is for the certain group of people, because where there is apostle people who go and pray into the cave, you will see the blue, the white, and the red, wool, just right there next to the cave. They make sure that they put something that you can see that it's a sign. And there is also the other cave where you will find that is for the Rastas, the German people. You see those rainbow colors of the Rasta. You will see it is there outside there. And when you arrive there, you will find that they've been smoking their ganja and everything. You will just see that, okay, that means they go and pray into that cave. And where there is red and blue and white, where the apostolic people pray, when you arrive there, you will always find the candles, different colors of the candles. And you know that, oh, the apostolic people were praying in this cave. And where you find the cave of traditional healers, normally you will find the cloth and all these type of things, and you will find the snake, you will find the candle, and you can tell that, oh, traditional healers are always coming to pray here. And when you find people who pray for, let me say maybe ZCC, you will find, the cover of the tea that they've been using, and you will find some of those things like the empty bottles of water and all the stuff. You're like, oh, this is the people, they are praying here. So it's known, to the other side of Pretoria, that they don't mix up. You know that, oh, those people are praying there, or those people are praying there, because there is this thing when it comes to spirituality that I don't understand. It seems like if you believe in this and that, you have to have your own space. Those who believe in that, they have their own space. But it's a topic for another day, because now we grew up knowing that it's only the Holy Spirit and the evil spirit. But now we are discovering that there are lots of spirits. So we don't know which one is which one that people are using, So now I kept on walking, but I realized that most of the caves that I discovered there were caves which are small. You have to crawl before you will walk, and I hate that kind of a cave. I just want to walk straight up when I go to the cave, and I prefer those kind of caves. So some of the caves you have to lay down and you have to crawl going in, like an animal. And I hate that, because if push come to shove, I don't want to be on the floor while I'm running away from something. I don't want to crawl anymore. I just want to walk or run. That's what I can say. So I avoided those caves. And one thing about me, I always want to go to the mountain when it's early, so that I can go and, size the mountain and check the different types of caves and feel the energy of the mountain and see if it's too heavy for me, or maybe I feel big in that mountain. Because sometimes spiritually, when you feel like you the man on top of that mountain, you are at the right position, because when people come there, you're already connected with the mountain, then you can stand tall. When something happens, you can have the guts of saying, you know what, I'm not gonna run, I'm gonna wait, you know what I'm saying, and see what's going on. So it's about the energy. People don't understand that energy is very much important. You need to go there in time. You need to size and feel the energy of that place that you're going to, because you need to know that that's not your place. Somebody is owning that place, or there is a creature which is very powerful on that cave, on that mountain or cave. And if you don't feel the energy that your presence has to be big in that place, you are gone. So I like to do that a lot. So I kept on walking until I came across this cave, which was just hidden just next to the rock. I saw the cave, man. The cave, man, it was beautiful because now this was like the exact cave that I was looking for, because now this one I can walk straight when I go to that cave. I went in, but something just kept me going back. I just went in, walk for about 2 meters, and I felt heavy. The cave was so heavy in a way that I don't know, man. I went back and I sat outside for a bit. After like 5 minutes, I decided, you know what, let me go back in the cave. I went back to the cave, because the thing about the cave was like, when I entered the cave, it was in a way that it was like a passage. Two people couldn't walk. It's just for me to walk sideways on that cave for about 3 to 5 meters. From thereafter the cave opens, whereby now 3-4 people can walk, and now I went there, man, and before I can even reach to where the cave is opening, I just felt like I should go back, because I felt like, man, if it happens that the landlord come, it's gonna be a problem. Let's say maybe if the landlord was out, and if the landlord comes back, it's only a passage that the landlord will want to go through where I am, and there is no way I can survive. So I felt that way. So I went back. I sat outside there. When I was just sitting there, I'm like praying, to get the strength to go in the cave. Because I'm like, if I cannot have the strength to go in the cave, I have to at least make fire and camp next to the cave. While I was just sitting there, around 8, at night, because I arrived there, during the day. I arrived 8 at night because I still don't have, the power to go in. But there is a thing about the night. The cave might be very scary during the day because it's dark in there. But once it is dark outside, it becomes easier for you to go in the cave because everywhere is dark. So I was like, let me wait, I will go maybe if I have power, or else I'll go early in the morning. There comes this other guy at night. I see him and I'm like, okay, he is walking alone and he is approaching my direction. What do I do? And I remember that the best thing you can do when you are in the mountain alone in the middle of the night is to stay to your ground and don't even flinch. And I know that one thing that the person comes and approach you, they are having too many things in their head of saying, is this a human, or what is really going on? Is he alone, or is other people in the cave? So the guy came there, he greeted me, I greeted him, and he asked me, have you ever went in already? I'm like, no, I'm still gathering the strength to go in. He said, oh, thank God, man, I've been coming to this cave and going back because I didn't have that strength of going in alone. I've been praying so that I will find a car here, because it's very rare to find people praying to this cave. And I cannot sleep all the time. I see this cave all the time. And something just told me to come to this cave today, and I found you here. So we started talking. Where are you from? I'm from Tembisa, this and that. And he said, no problem, man. Let's go into the cave. So we decided to go in. He was carrying the candles, and we went to the cave and we started praying. Now, what was surprising now into that cave, it was that we walked for about 6 meters to 8 meters. And we have to follow each other. We couldn't walk at the same time straight, because of now the passage was so thin in a way that even a person, we have to walk sideways. But the more we walk, the cave started to open up. After about 8 meters, it started to open up in a way that now we can just walk straight. Because now there was this thing of who will be the leader between the two of us, who will walk first. And I was telling the guy, like, you are staying here in Pretoria and you are familiar with the mountain. So you should be the one who walk in front of me. And you should show me where we are going, because now I don't even know the cave. And he agreed. He said, okay, let's walk. But now the problem is, even if although you are behind the guy, whatever which is coming behind you, if it arrives there, it will start with you. It's just no way to go. So the guy was like, yeah, I'm going to walk. So he lighted the candle, because he came with the candles, the white candles. He lighted the candles, and I was following the guy. So we kept on walking, and we realized that this thing, it's so beautiful inside, whereby, you know, about 15 to 20 people can fit in that cave, because it becomes like a wall. And I realized that the more we walk, and when we arrived to the end of the cave, those who are from Pretoria, they will know what I'm talking about. When we arrived there to the end of the cave, it made a T-junction sign, whereby now it's either you can turn to the left, it's either you can turn to the right. But right there to the T-junction, there is a stone, a flat stone, like a table. You know, it's very flat in a way that people who go pray there, they put the candles there on top of that stone, and you can tell that about 8 to 10 people can make a round to that table and have whatever you can call the Last Supper, the meeting, or whatever that they can do. And that's the reason why the cave, it is so feared, and people cannot go to that cave. Now, I heard stories about the cave later of saying, man, you are at one of the most powerful caves. You were just lucky to be there and you're still alive. Now, we had to decide if we go to the left or we go to the right. And I told the guy, like, look, we have the stone here, and this is the right place for us to come and pray. Because we walked until the end. And this is T-junction, so we don't want to go and find out that the landlord is sitting, or is where the landlord is sleeping, and we are going to go and disturb the peace of the landlord. Let's pray here, because of, you need to know that everything that passes will pass here, because we are right here at the middle of, you know, the T-junction, the 3 roads. We prayed there, and while we are busy praying, you see the energy, the atmosphere, you can feel it. And I felt that all of a sudden, the place is becoming cold. Although there was like the water drops in that cave that always dropped on us, but it felt different. It felt like we are no longer alone. And we kept on praying, and now all of a sudden between us, because I was on this side of the wall and he was on the entrance side, and I just felt the presence of the landlord moving between us. It was one of the scariest things that I cannot even describe, and I am not making this up. We kept on praying, and of course, if you're wondering, the landlord is the snake, because normally they are there. And one thing which comes to my mind was that it's either I should run, or it's either I should keep praying and don't move an inch. Because I had so many stories. I am saying this because of I grew up, you know, with people who always go and pray into the mountains, and they tell us stories of what is happening. And one thing that they always told us is that once you are in the cave and you feel the presence of the landlord, the last thing you should think about is running. Because of you have no, I almost said the F word, because of you have nowhere to go. You need to know that the distance that we walked already in the dark, you cannot run in the dark. You're just bringing bad luck, and you're just risking yourself to be, you know, having some injuries. So I kept on praying, and lucky good enough, the gentleman that I was with, he also kept on praying. He didn't even think about running. And later he told me that it's the first time I saw you, but because of you were at the side of, the dangerous side, and you didn't run, you gave me courage to keep on praying. Because I thought of running. That's what he told me. But because of now I didn't run, he didn't run, and we kept on praying until it passed. Because actually it was moving from the other direction to the other. Because we were right there in the middle of the T junction. All along, the snake was in the cave. Now it was moving from the other side to the other side. And we kept on praying. And later we came out there, and he told me, like, look, man, now I'm going home to sleep. I cannot sleep here, and I cannot allow you to sleep on this mountain, because this mountain is very dangerous. And the place that you are at is the place where people hire taxis to come. 5, 10, 20 people, they come here to pray. People don't come here alone. So I met you here. Allow me to go with you to my place. Be my guest. Tomorrow morning you will wake up and you will take your train back to Tembisa. And I listened to the guy, and I went to his place. I slept there. Early in the morning when I woke up, I don't remember if it's the sister or the mother was just sweeping, making sure that she is cleaning around there. And we just greeted her, and the guy introduced me to the family member. And that's it. And I came back to Tembisa. And ever since that day, I never thought of even going back to that mountain. I always risk going back to the mountain, but that was the only time I went to that mountain behind Medunza. Now, I understood why the guy decided to tell me that, you know what, I need you to go back with me to where I'm staying so that you can be safe. Because the guy realized something. He realized that for him to meet somebody right there at the cave, and I went in with him, and there was a matter of life and death when we were in there, when we felt the presence of the snake, and I didn't run. And he even told me that because of I didn't run, he had the strength to keep on praying. And for him to see that kind of a strong belief in somebody that he doesn't even know, it was enough for him. And he was like, say, this guy, he is a godsend. I cannot go out or go leave this mountain without talking to this guy. And now he told me that in Pretoria they call that place a basement. People who are from Pretoria will know what I'm talking about. A basement, even at our apartments, there is what we call a basement. It is something that normally is underground. So that's why they call it a basement, because when you walk there on top of that mountain, you will never know that there is a cave which is so big underneath where you're walking. But only when you go across the rock, that's when you will see the entrance. And when you walk, it is so thin, when you're walking from the first 8 meters, and it will open up and you will find the table down there. They call it a basement. And they call, caves tunnels in Pretoria. He told me that, no, we will go to another tunnel. We go into tunnels. I'm like, oh, you call it a tunnel? They said, yeah, we call them tunnels here. And now, that basement, I learned about it, years ago when I hear people who we respect a lot, they're telling you about the sites that they go to pray in Pretoria, and they always mention basement. And they're always shocked to hear when I tell them, like, oh, I know basement. It's like this, is like that, inside. They're like, man, how did you? I said, no, I took a train and I went there. But of course, I couldn't tell them that in the middle of the night, somebody came there and I went with somebody. They will always assume that I went in there alone. And people look at you different when you tell them about that place, because they know the danger of the place. And they said no one camp in that mountain, in that cave. They only go and pray for a certain time, and they go out, jump into their cars and go. That's the reason why you cannot find people sitting next to the mountain, next to the cave, just like other caves that we see all the time. Other caves, you see people camping, people making noise and doing all these things. Because of the danger of that cave, they always respect that cave. And I have learned a lot, because now the guy's name was Solomon. I will never forget his name. And now Solomon felt, so relieved to see me there. And he looked at me as an elder. And he started, confessing some of the things to me. I'm like, look, man, I just went there to pray with you. And he said, yes, in my belief is that when I meet somebody who has more strength and who has that belief which is bigger than mine, I feel like it's better for me to talk to you and to tell you the things that I'm struggling with. In that way, it feels like it's a confession to, the pastor, the bishop, or the elder in a church. And wherever you go, man, I think you will pray for me. And I think what I told you is like I told my Savior, and that's how it was. You are like an angel, And the guy started sharing a lot of stuff with me, and I just guided him where I can guide him. And I just spoke with him how I felt during that time. And the guy was so happy, and that was the last time I saw the guy. And I never even went back to the place. Normally, when I go to a cave, I always want to go back, and see it again and again. But that one, I didn't have, that strength of going and visit the mountain again. I was like, by the grace of God, what I went there to do, I succeeded. And that was it. So I started going to different types of caves. And I'm going to share a lot of stories, guys, with you. And I appreciate you guys showing me love and support. I'm going to share stories. Storytellers will tell stories regardless, guys. I appreciate you guys supporting me every day. Thank you, guys.